Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I would like to introduce Eagle Scout Travis Knox from Troop 100 Westboro, who will lead us in the presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance with Scouts from Westboro Packs 100 and 3033, Troops 11, 100, and 382, Crew 100, and Explorer Post 85. Travis?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. With Veterans Day upon us, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize all of our veterans who have served in the armed forces and throughout their service and sacrifice have allowed us to enjoy living in the greatest nation in the world. Please stand and be recognized. Will the audience please stand and join me for the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Color Guard, attention. Color Guard, present colors. Scout salute. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color Guard, post colors. Thank you. You may be seated.
Welcome to the 2025 Westboro Good Scout Award Dinner. My name is Ian Johnson. I have the distinct pleasure of serving on this year's Westboro Good Scout Committee. Tonight, we are gathered to honor Jim Tepper, not only for his accomplishments as an outstanding public servant, but more importantly, for his role as an outstanding community leader. We will also be celebrating Scouting and the outstanding work of our young people. The core mission of Scouting has remained strong, and the program has touched the lives of thousands of youth throughout the community of Westboro and millions of lives across this great nation. The goal of Scouting has always been to build the confidence of young people so they will have the opportunity to practice and implement leadership skills in a safe and positive environment. Many of these young people will take the lessons learned in Scouting and apply them in our businesses and our communities. They are our future leaders of tomorrow. Thank you all for your support. It is truly appreciated. At this time, I'd also like to recognize my fellow committee members that have been working diligently for the past year to make this event a showcase for not only Scouting, but also for the outstanding individual we are here to honor tonight. I would like to take a moment to recognize the Westboro Good Scout Committee, so please stand to be recognized. Amber Bach, Charlotte Bramley, Maggie and Bill Bramley, Karen Henderson, behind the camera back there, understanding. Maureen and Ian Johnson, Damian Knox, Bill Linane, Betsy Moquin, Jim Tajan, and our dinner chair, Jim Ball. It is is now my pleasure to introduce Jim's son, Chuck Tepper, who will provide the invocation for this evening's meal. I'd ask that everybody please stand as Chuck comes forward. We're switching around, okay. And I was responsible for this script, so it is Steve Tepper doing the invocation, and it's still Jim's son.
Can't get rid of that.
Good evening. Dear God, we ask for your blessings upon all the scouts around the world who strive to live by the values of scouting. May we all be thoughtful and mindful of each other and our larger community needs. May we each grow to understand our own gifts and use those gifts to serve our communities, and especially those in need. May we support others to embrace the respective gifts and commit to serving others, part of our lives on a daily basis. May we find peace and love in the act of serving others, and may we find strength to ask and help support when we need it ourselves. May we make decisions that reflect the values of scouting and the teachings of our faith. May we always seek to do what's right, and may our actions be guided by your love and grace. Amen.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to the Scouts for the opening ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your dinner. You can be seated, sorry. So please enjoy your dinner and tonight's music by the Westboro High School String Quartet, and thank you for being here as well. So anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed their dinner. I know that and hope some of you are still enjoying dessert, but as I said, in the essence of time, we're going to proceed with the evening program. At this time, we do have some recognitions, proclamations to read, but first I would like to thank, see them around, but I wanted to thank the Westboro High School String Quartet for their beautiful dinner music, so a round of applause for them. And now at this time, I'd like to invite Westboro State Representative Kate Donahue to come forward to make a few comments. Yep. Jim, could you please come up? Sorry.
So, as Ian said, I'm State Representative Kate Donahue, and I have the honor of representing Westboro, Northboro, Southboro, and a neighborhood in Framingham. So Jim and I have known each other a little bit peripherally over the years, but I learned a lot more about him last year when Jim was the Veteran of the Year. And I learned about all of his community service, and I learned about his service in the military. But I was particularly struck by the fact that he served 6 years on the Advisory Finance Committee. Now that's real bravery. I couldn't say that line last year at the Veterans Day ceremony, but I figured I could use it here today. So with this, I will, so Representative Kane and I have a citation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Lieutenant Colonel James J. Tepper in recognition of receiving the 2025 Westboro Good Scout Award and for your contributions to the nation and the Westboro community. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. given this 5th day of November at the State House, and it's signed by Speaker of the House Ron Mariano, Representative Hannah Kane, and by me. Congratulations.
We also have several guests tonight from the Mayflower Council, Executive Board and staff with us this evening. First, we have the Mayflower Council Scout Executive and CEO, Juan Osorio. Mayflower Council Director of Development and our Good Scout Dinner Staff Advisor, Jim Corcoran. And other council staff members here, if they could stand to be recognized as well. Thank you for all that you're doing. So as I introduced before, we have a great Westboro Good Scout Committee, but we couldn't do this event every year without the support and the staff of the Mayflower Council. They actually make this all work. I think sometimes we drive them a little nuts. Especially Jim. I think he has my wife on speed dial. So, but again, thank you very much. I didn't introduce myself, but I am proud to continue to serve in my, I think, 4th year as Mayflower Council President as well. But it is my last year, so next year I will be immediate past president, which would be a nice title to have. But again, thank you all for being here. This evening. This is just a great event in Westboro, and to support just key individuals and community leaders, and we're pleased to have be recognizing. Just keep wanting to call you Mr. Tepper, so I'll keep saying that. But Jim Tepper tonight. So we've been going. This event's been going on for 24 years. It's just a great event here in Westboro, started by Charlotte Bramley and Jack Hero. But we have several of the past honorees of the Westboro Good Scout Award in the audience tonight. And so I would like to ask that each of them that are in attendance to please stand and be recognized. But I'm going to recite the full list of the past recipients, which of course started in 2001. So in 2001, it was John Hero. 2002, Henry Danis and Charlotte Bramley. Charlotte, please stand. 2003, Jim Tajan. 2004, Dr. Robert Plugman. 2005, Lydia Goldblatt. 2006, Jim Harvey. 2007, Christina Nielsen Allen. 2008, Nelson Ball. 2009, Herbert Alexander. 2010, Jack Wilson. 2011, Rod Janae. 2012, Ryan Maloney. 2013, Lester Hensley. 2014, Peter Gardner. 2015, Honorable John S. McCann. 2016, Joe Harrington. 2017, Deborah Penta. 2018, Al Gordon and Julie Kaczynski. 2019, Todd Alexander and Charlotte Spinney. 2021, Ian and Maureen Johnson. 2022, Karen Henderson and Amber Bach. 2023, Beverly and Bill Linane. 2024, James Ball, Jim, who's our chair for this year, unfortunately, is at a wedding, family wedding in Thailand right now, but he wishes that he could be here. So thank you all to the past recipients. As you can see, many of you that have been in Westboro a long time, just a tremendous group of honorees. So thank you again, all the past honorees, for being. So I think my time here is coming to a close. So at this time, I would like to introduce Betsy Mokman, who will be serving as our Master of Ceremonies for the remainder of the evening. Thank you, Betsy.
Well, it's great to be here tonight, everyone. We still have a lot of fun in store for the evening. Lots of great things to do, and obviously somebody pretty special to honor tonight. We will get started by introducing, and we've already had you stand up, Juan, but we'd like to have you address the crowd a little bit. Juan, as we mentioned earlier, is the Scout Executive. He is originally from Rhode Island, so we're happy to have him back in New England. He has been a professional scouter for more than 20 years and brings a lot of experience to him. He came to us from Georgia, and he will share a little bit about scouting's impact here in our Westboro area. So come on up.
Good evening. Check, check. Good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you for being with us tonight for this special dinner as we recognize Jim Tepper and celebrate our scouting program. Before we begin, or before I begin with my comments, I want to echo Ian's remarks on our committee. Thank you to all the volunteers for putting this together, and to all of our sponsors for making sure that we have a great and successful event. Again, Jim, congratulations. Thank you for allowing us to honor you this evening. Thank you for your service to our country and for your service to our community. Thank you, sir. If I may, I'd like to take you all through a little bit of a scouting journey over the year 2025. And I gotta tell you, scouting has been great, and we have done a lot over the last 12 months. As I mentioned, a lot has happened. Our board just passed a 5-year strategic plan to ensure that scouting continues to thrive in the communities that we serve. We just had a staff reorganizational structure to ensure that we are supporting our scout groups and our volunteers, providing a good program. And we've doubled down on our program efforts so that our scouts, we can ensure that our scouts has the best quality scouting program in the nation. As I was here last year during this exact dinner, I mentioned that our organization changed its name from the Boy Scouts of America to Scouting America. A very proud moment for us. And I'm here happy to report that since we did that, nearly 1,000 females have joined Scouting America and become one of our members. That's incredible. And that's only here in our council, here locally, and across the nation has been 172,000 girls that are now enjoying the Scouting America program, like the millions of young men that are in the program. This fall alone, our local council has recruited and welcomed more than 600 new families to join our program. And here in the Mayflower Council, which covers 62 cities and towns around Boston, primarily the Metro West and South Shore, we serve nearly 7,000 families through our scouting program on a weekly basis. Now, this is only possible thanks to the leadership, dedication, and support of nearly 3,000 adult volunteers that dedicate their time, talent, and treasure to ensure that our scouts are getting a quality program. By show of hands around the room, if you've ever been a volunteer for a scouting program or are currently a volunteer in scouting, please raise your hand. Incredible. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you for your service. In 2024, we had 217 young men and women attain the rank of Eagle Scout. To make it to Eagle Scout, you must provide a community service project. And these 217 young men and women gave back nearly 65,000 hours of community service here in the local communities that we serve. And these are organizations such as school, parks and recs, other youth organizations, nonprofits, community at large, giving back nearly $3 million worth of service and labor to the local communities. That's just incredible. That was in 2024 alone. And I'm happy to report that in 2025, we're actually tracking to beat those numbers. We're looking to have more Eagle Scouts this year than we did last year, and I hope to report to you at this dinner next year how well we did. Again, last year when I was here, I talked to you about this relaunch of our outreach program called Scouting in Every Neighborhood. And our mission behind that program is to make sure that we're serving every family through Scouting, even our underprivileged families and those families that are going through some financial hardships. And I'm happy to report that in 2025, we launched that program and we have given out more than $35,000 to needy families and low-income families in the 62 cities and towns that we cover, so that they could participate in our Scouting program, in our outings, and in our summer camp. In Brockton alone, we have been working with our Scout programs there to make sure that 100% of those families receive a subsidized program, whether it's registration assistance, financial assistance to purchase a uniform, maybe it's to be able to go to summer camp. 100% of the families in Brockton are receiving a heavily subsidized program so that they can enjoy and be a Scout. Our goal for next year and beyond is to be able to continue to support Brockton and grow programs, more programs in Brockton, but also expand that program to the Framingham city so that we can provide more support and we can grow programs in Framingham as well. We know that they need the financial support to be a Scout. If anybody is interested in learning more about that program or how to support that program, please let Jim or myself know at the end of the dinner. Here in a couple of weeks, we're going to get ready to gather as families, sit around the table during Thanksgiving and give thanks for all the luxuries and benefits that we have as a family. There's some families that might not be as lucky as ours. So our Scouts here in the coming days are doing what we call our Scouting for Food drive, where they go into our communities and collect food for needy families. Last year alone, we collected 157,000 pounds of food and donated them to local food pantries. And this year, we're looking forward to it, and we're working really hard to collect more than that, because we know the need is greater this year. Now, all of this is only possible because of the support of our volunteers and because of the support of you by coming to this dinner. So on behalf of our executive board, on behalf of our 7,000 families that are Scouts, and on behalf of our staff, I thank you for being here, for being present, and for supporting Scouting America. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Aren't we glad he's back in New England? Thank you for that. That's a wonderful update. It gives me great pleasure to once again introduce Eagle Scout Travis to come here. One of the highlights of the evening every year is when we get to hear from an Eagle about the direct impact. It's wonderful to hear numbers. It's really impactful to also hear a personal story. So welcome back up to the podium, Travis.
When I look back upon my Scouting career, it's crazy to think about how much I've grown. I started as a kid who couldn't even set up his own tent. Now I'm somehow here today as an Eagle Scout, giving a speech on how Scouting shaped me into who I am today. When I was asked to write this speech, I talked with Mr. Tepper about how Scouting shaped him. We talked about how he served his community throughout the years and his experiences as a youth. Most importantly, we talked about the Scout Oath and the Scout Law, and how its tenets can impact someone's life. Upon further reflection, the tenets that impact me the most were helpful, thrifty, and trustworthy. Over the years, through service projects, helping my troop, and giving back to the community, I've learned that being helpful doesn't just mean doing what's asked of you. It means looking for what needs to be done before anyone even asks. Now, it took me a while to figure that out. When I first joined Scouting, I thought being helpful meant lifting something heavy. Or, if I was feeling really generous, holding open a door. But being truly helpful means jumping in when something needs doing, even when no one's told you to. For example, imagine a younger Scout trying to light a stove on a campout. If the patrol leader just stands by or walks away and lets him struggle without knowing how to do it, that's not helpful at all. But if the patrol leader notices the scout having trouble, steps in to offer guidance, and shows him how to light the match, that's what being helpful truly is. Scouting has taught me the importance of being helpful. I find myself helping others almost without thinking about it now. It's honestly one of the best parts of scouting. You start out as the unsure kid on your first camp out, and over time, you become the role model that younger scouts will look to for advice. Now, thrifty is a word you hear a lot in scouting, usually in the context of shopping for food for a camp out, swapping out name brand pasta sauce for that crappy store kind, or maybe, just maybe skipping the second bag of Oreos. It also means being resourceful, as well as planning ahead. My Eagle Scout project was constructing tomahawk throwing targets for the Metro West Y Outdoor Center over in Hopkinton. Now, I know what you're thinking, tomahawks, that sounds like a lawsuit. I can assure you, they're safe. Safe enough. When I was planning my project, I very quickly realized there was a lot more work that went on during an Eagle project than the work days you were invited to as a younger scout. There were weeks of meetings to be planned, funds to be collected from somewhere, materials to be ordered, then not delivered, as well as significant changes to the project, all on top of the part where you actually, build the project. I quickly realized I was going to need a plan, for real. I researched designs, searched for environmentally friendly wood, and planned everything to a T. I found ways to reuse materials, reduce costs, and where I really, really could not cut corners. I was forced to think like someone managing others, not just myself. Once all the planning was finished and the date of my workdays came around, I was able to sail through my project thanks to the extensive planning I had done. I was able to quickly and effectively construct my 4 targets due to my planning and ability to manage my workers. So much so we finished in only 1 day, and without any missing fingers. Turns out, planning ahead is pretty great. I had felt accomplished and my project was basically done, and I learned a very important lesson about being resourceful and planning ahead. I feel the most important value scouting instills is being trustworthy. Trust isn't something granted instantly. It's earned slowly over time, and it can be lost just as easily. It shows up everywhere in scouting. Whether it's trusting a patrol member to finally clean a stove despite their track record of leaving it dirty and returning it 2 weeks later, or trusting that scout's parents are going to be there at the end of a campout to pick them up. Another thing Mr. Tepper and I talked about was our experiences working at a summer camp. My time at summer camp reinforced just how important it is to be trustworthy. At camp, trust is everything, and it is the main factor in the relationship you're building with campers. If they trust you, they will listen, engage, and everyone will have a great week at camp. But if that trust is broken, even once, it can be hard to earn it back. Whether or not your campers trust you can completely shape how your week goes. For example, if you promise to take them on a hike, then back out for some reason, like maybe it rained the whole week, they'll remember that disappointment. They don't care that it rained. They will resent you that entire week. But on the other hand, when you follow through on your word and show them that you mean what you say, they will respect you more and look to you as a leader they can rely upon. That lesson about trust has stuck with me far beyond summer camp. And I think that's what scouting really does best. It turns trustworthy from a word into a habit. It makes it so you think about what you say, as well as makes you into a more reliable person. Looking back, scouting didn't just teach me how to survive in the woods. It taught me how to survive in life. How to plan ahead, lead people, and stay calm when things go horribly wrong. It taught me how to reflect on myself, value hard work, and find pride in my community. I've definitely had my fair share of sleepless nights, botched meals, and campouts why I questioned why I was still in scouting. But all of these experiences shaped me into the person I am today. I'm by no means perfect. I still forget food when I'm shopping for food on campouts, and I still forget to put the tent stakes with my tent for the 3rd campout in a row. But scouting has taught me how to adapt and overcome these challenges, all while still being moderately cheerful. In Mr. Tepper's words, indecision kills. In life, decisions will always have to be made one way or another. Even if the initial decision is incorrect or a miscalculation, you always have the ability to change and reflect upon your actions. He believes that programs like Scouting America give youth not only the ability to make better, more thought-out decisions, but also the ability to adapt and respond to the consequences of their actions. So, thank you, Mr. Tepper. Your dedicated leadership, helpfulness, and generosity have enriched the overall community of Westboro. You serve as an example of what a truly good Scout should be, not only for me, but for Scouts around the community. Thank you, Mr. Tepper. May I ask Mr. Tepper to join me at the podium? Mr. Tepper, I understand that you are an Eagle Scout, class of 1961. On behalf of all the Eagle Scouts from the town of Westboro, I'm honored to present you with this official Mayflower Council Eagle Scout Council strip patch, as well as the Scout neckerchief, once an Eagle, always an Eagle.
So Travis, we appreciate those words, and that was pretty touching for you to get a patch from town. I just kind of want to think a little bit about what you said, and we have some prepared remarks here, but I'm going to deviate from the script a little bit because your talk about trust is really resonating with me. And I work at the YMCA, and I'm responsible for HR. And next week we have an all-staff training, and we are flying someone in from the Carolinas to do a presentation and a talk for our staff on trust. And I'm wondering if the audience thinks I should cancel that and hire Travis to come in and give a talk. That was amazing, and you know, one of the favorite things about this night for me is reflecting on the ride home, and always reflecting on what the award winner has to say, and also what the year's Eagle speaker has to say. So I hope all of you kind of take some quiet time on the car ride home tonight and kind of marinate on what he shared with us, because you know, sometimes we get caught up in all the bad things that happen in the world, and this is an example of all the great things we should get, you know, think about in our day-to-day life. So thank you for that, and we do have a token of appreciation for you for everything that you did to help make this night extra special for Jim. So thank you. So we're ready to...
I'm going to say, if you do follow that plan, you'll be thrifty.
Once a scout, always a scout, Jim Tepper. So we're going to kind of move into the award presentation part of the program. So we got you getting up, sitting down, getting up, sitting down. But now it's actually time to get you escorted back up to the stage by the scouts. And it might be Travis is not the only one here. So we have a bunch of scouts to help escort you back up. So you're going to get some exercise tonight.
You got a camera.
Pick him up.
Practice the film.
Thank you. Nice job. So the Good Scout Award is presented to an individual who has exemplified themselves through their outstanding leadership to the community, and obviously their concern and about the welfare of everyone around us, right? So each year we get together and we try to determine who the Good Scout honoree is going to be, and obviously we pick Jim, who has actually served on this committee in the past. I have known Jim for a long time, so I was very excited when he was the individual that we chose this year, and honestly speechless when he asked me to participate in this part of the program. So you're a very important part of my life, and it's special to be here this evening. So before we actually present the award, I'm going to kind of share a little bit about my relationship with Jim, with all of you. So indulge me for a few minutes, okay? So as mentioned, because I'm ready to hire Travis, where did Travis go? I work at the YMCA, so the Metro West YMCA had you for the Eagle Project, but we can move you over to the Burroughs Family Branch YMCA. So I first met Jim and Alice because they were actually two of the people who decided that the Westboro community needed a YMCA. And so they invested in that, and our Burroughs Family Branch YMCA actually opened 23 years ago yesterday, believe it or not. So our relationship goes back that far, if you do the math. I hate the thought of that, but it goes back that far.
I was in elementary school.
So, you know, you really could say that because of Jim's philanthropy and his interest in building a YMCA, I have a job, right? I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Jim and Alice and other people who believed that the Y would benefit from a community here. And we opened on November 4th, and by Christmas time, we already had more than 3,000 members. So your thought about building it and they will come was absolutely on target. So that's kind of how we first got to know one another. Our work at the Y kind of continued because his family was very involved in the Y. So I saw some of the kids grow up from preschool and through swim lessons and things like that. So that's making me feel really old to look at the table here. And then we crossed paths through Rotary. And Rotary is an important part of my life, and that's actually how I became a part of this committee. Charlotte and Chris Bramley asked me to join the committee the year that Nelson Ball received the award. Nelson also was very instrumental in building the branch, and Nelson was my sponsor to become a Rotarian. So that's kind of how, you know, everything is Kevin Bacon, right? A few degrees of separation. So that's how we got connected. And, you know, some of what Travis was talking about also resonates with me when I think about Jim's involvement in Rotary, and he can always be counted on. He's usually behind the scenes doing something that maybe no one even thought needed to be done, but he recognized it, so he takes it upon himself to do it. He usually has Debbie with him. You should be a Rotarian too, because you're always at our events as well. But usually doing something behind the scenes and just quietly helping out. And one quick example is many years ago, our treasurer got a new job and moved to a different area, and although he was new in the role, he wasn't able to continue on. And, you know, as you heard from Representative Donahue's remarks, he clearly has a passion for all things finance. So we wouldn't have been able to get through our budget process that year if it hadn't been for Jim kind of stepping up behind the scenes and just quietly offering his help. So most of the things he's done in Rotary have been helpful, but he's always just there and willing to step in. Really, the only one time I can reflect on, or one role that you've played in Rotary that is actually not behind the scenes, it's actually, you're the primary Rotarian involved in it, but people might not know about it because it's a little bit of a top secret mission. But on the Sunday after Thanksgiving every year, we have a very special tradition that happens in Westboro where a real VIP arrives downtown at the Rotary on a fire truck, a very special person, and that person, right, we just said that person is somebody that we all look to at this time of year when we're trying to figure out what our wish list is. And every time I watch the movie Elf and he says, "Santa, I know him, I know him." I know him and you all know him too, because he's there, you just might not have realized it was Jim at the time. So thank you for all you've done. A lot of wishes that were granted when they shared their little, that's for sure. And then the other kind of tie that binds us, and something that we chat about all the time, is we both graduated from the same alma mater. So Springfield College is something that is important to both of us. We talk about it a lot, we chat about it a lot. And many years ago, before either of us attended, the school had gone through a series of names, and each of the names involved YMCA. And you might say, what does that have to do with this evening? Well, it actually really demonstrates the way Jim leads his life. So the YMCA triangle, the logo that's in the YMCA, is the same as the college logo because it was originally founded many years before we attended it to educate YMCA executives and leaders. And the triangle was created by a man named Dr. Luther Gulick, and he was superintendent of the college at the time. That's what they called them back then. And each corner of the triangle, one is for spirit, one is for mind, and one is for body. And the reason Dr. Gulick inverted it is he felt that if you kept the focus on all three things and inverted it, you wouldn't be able to focus on just one. You had to keep it balanced or else the triangle, right, would tip over. So that's exactly how you've lived your life, focusing in those three areas. And the college philosophy comes from Greek philosophy, which is humanics. So we focus a lot on humanics in action. And humanics is just a way to say leadership and service to others. So again, another thing that truly exemplifies the way Jim has led his life. So we had wonderful citations presented tonight, but I also made sure that we had a citation from the college. So we have a citation from Springfield that they were very happy to provide, and I'll read it to you. Hold on, now I need reading glasses. In honor and recognition of alumnus James J. Tepper, class of 1967, for his leadership and service to the Boy Scouts of America, Scouting America Mayflower Council, Springfield College commemorates his achievement of the 2025 Westboro Good Scout Award. This award aligns with Mr. Tepper's demonstration of the college's humanics philosophy of leadership in spirit, mind, and body in service to others. Congratulations on this special award, awarded this day, the 5th of November, 2025. Before we turn it over, at Springfield College, we kind of say nothing happened unless you have a photo of it with a Springfield College flag. So, Jim, you cannot leave tonight until you take a picture of you with the flag. You can do it later, we don't have to do it now, but you cannot go home until.
That looks good.
But you have been a great friend and a great mentor to me for many, many years, and you are so, so very deserving of this honor. So thank you very much. So now I'm going to ask our friend Jim Cashton to come up and share in much more detail some of the many amazing things that Jim has accomplished.
First of all, I'm humbled to be asked by Jim to say a few words in his behalf, and especially following Travis and Betsy, I'm truly humbled to even be up here. So, first of all, I just want to mention that Jim's family is here at this table. His sons, Chuck and Steve, Steve's wife, Michelle, his older sister, Roz, and her husband, Dennis, and I think Kathy's here, and also Chuck's two daughters and Steve's son, Jack. So we welcome you. Thank you for being here. Especially, I want to mention Jim's longtime companion, Debbie Mickett. Debbie and Jim share a common bond. She lost her husband, Bob, in 2013. Jim lost his wife, Alice, the following year. Bob served in the military, as did Jim, of course, for 38 years and continued to serve his country after that. So blessings to both of you and much joy to both of you. So there's one other member of the family, Jim's older brother, Don, who was a Coast Guard veteran, a resident of Westboro, passed away 5 years ago, yesterday actually. So we miss him and sorry he is not able to be here with us. And I'm sure that Jim feels the same way. So how did all this start for Jim? He was born 81 years ago, was it? And grew up in Northampton, the third of 4 of these children. As you've heard already, I think he attended schools in Northampton. And while he was there, he was on the basketball team, the football team, and he was a member of the school choruses. Jim has some very great musical genes. I haven't asked him to sing anything here tonight, but his mother was the director of music in Northampton. His father, in addition to operating some multiple five and dime stores in the area, had his own band, and Jim, I understand, frequently played in it. Beyond those activities, Jim was a member of a local Boy Scout troop. As you've heard, he attained the rank of Eagle Scout. He was inducted as a member of the Order of Arrow, Scouting's Honor Camping Leadership Society. He was one of the founding members of an Explorer Post in Northampton. That was a relatively new program at the time for older youth. Jim also attended Philmont Scout Ranch in New Mexico, which was and still is the premier outdoor experience for Scouts. So Scouting speaks of its methods and its aims. Basically, and Travis, I know you've given a much better explanation of how important Scouting is than I will say, but basically, fun is the method Scouting uses. It's the outdoors, it's camping, hiking, use of small groups of boys in small units called patrols, where they have their own team, their own leader. So it's like a small gang. That's the fun of Scouting. The aims are the serious stuff of Scouting, especially leadership development and service to others, and also trustworthiness, as we learned tonight. These two, leadership and service to others, have been the hallmark of Jim's life and career. You may wonder how he was so involved in all these activities at a young age. In those days, really being the late 40s and early 50s, we didn't have these things. And we did have TVs, or some of us have TVs. They were black and white. They were a big box with a little screen. They had 3 or 4 channels at the most, and they were on a few hours a day. So the youth had to do something. And those were the days when they had a lot of these activities to go to. In addition, sports in those days was a seasonal event. You played football in the fall, and basketball in the winter. Today, as the young people can attest, they've spread out, and the seasonal activity has become a year-round activity many times. So kids have to give up things that they might like to do for achievement in their sports. So I think it's a lot more challenging for youth today, perhaps, to fill their lives than it was growing up in those days. So Jim had a chance to participate in all those activities. We've checked out a few high school pictures, however. And although he enjoyed all the male bonding that went with scouts and sports, his chorus activities, which were quite definitely co-ed, had his attention as well. And they included quite a few very attractive young women. That's all I'll say about that. Jim was so committed to scouting that he planned to go on to college, pursue a professional scouting career, to serve as a council executive, just as Juan is today, and maybe beyond that. The path he chose, however, went in another direction. While attending Springfield College, he was persuaded to join the Marine Corps Platoon Leaders class, which allowed full-time college students to pursue a Marine Corps commission. There were two paths he could take, aviation and ground affairs. Jim was intrigued by and chose aviation. And that choice has made all the difference to Jim. While in Pensacola, Florida, attending flight school, Jim met Alice Griffiths. They married in 1968 and had 2 sons. Eventually, with the ongoing Vietnam War, he was called to active duty and left for the West Coast, eventually for active duty in Vietnam, where he served flying large 2-prop, technically, am I right, Jim, tandem rotor helicopters, and in and out of Vietnam, ferrying soldiers, equipment, performing the other tasks that were needed. He was on board ship while he was doing that. He served in that role for a year before being returned stateside. This was not the most pleasant time for the military, as there was a lot of controversy, as some of you may remember, controversy and opposition to the war. And this was often expressed against the military members at the time. Jim dealt with this by keeping his focus on his family and his responsibilities to his fellow servicemen and women. After returning from active military service, Jim continued in the reserves, taking on many tasks, finally retiring in 1997 as a lieutenant colonel. Rumor has it that Jim so enjoyed flying, especially low-level to ground excursions, which are the lifeblood of helicopters who can fly low, that on occasion one could see a copter buzzing various sporting events. Jim, you can talk about that maybe. And even stopping to land and show off his flying machine. He was so proud and so enjoyed that experience. He also flew in more challenging situations at home, providing rescue missions up and down the coast, especially during the blizzard of '78. So that was duty in the reserves. After active duty, Jim began working at UMass, received his MBA simultaneously from the Eisenberg School of Management. He moved on to Pine. Pine is the Printing Industries of New England, acronym for that, where he worked for 36 years, culminating as president. Pine's mission was to provide resources to help growth and strength of businesses and individuals working in the printing industry. It was a service company. It was simultaneously with that move to Pine that Jim and his family moved to Westboro in order to be closer to his new employment. I had asked him, I said, why would you move from Northampton? It's a beautiful town, a great part of the state. Why did you come to Westboro? So this explains it. Work took him here, like it's taken a lot of people other places. He actually eventually moved the business from around Boston to its current location in South Grove. He has been honored for his service as an industry leader by being inducted into the Ben Franklin Honor Society of Printing Industries of America. I'd never heard of it. I looked it up. It really is an important honor society for people in that field of work. Jim then moved on to New Direction Partners. It's an investment firm assisting in mergers and acquisitions, as well as placement of individuals, specifically in the printing and packaging industry. He's in fact still at work, bringing businesses and people together to this day. I understand as recently as last week, maybe? Okay. So, getting much satisfaction helping them fulfill their dreams. Jim has also contributed his energy and skills in Westboro, working with other adults to develop the sport of hockey in town when it really was in its infancy. Westboro Athletic Hockey Association, WAHA, which is, I guess, converted later to WABA, Westboro Athletic Boosters Association. But in any event, he was at the forefront of hockey for a kind of special reason, because Steve has done a wonderful job in the hockey arena, so it's a great thing that they were able to do that together. He supported Red Devils football as well as scouting in town. During Alice's struggle with Alzheimer's disease and after her death in 2014, he gave back, helping those many who were and continue to suffer as patients and caregivers with this terribly debilitating disease. He has also served his church, Congregational Church in town, as a member of the Board of Trustees, Financial Oversight Committee, Nominating Committee. So, as far as town affairs are concerned, he served as a member of the town's Finance Advisory Committee for 7 years. And I've been told that there are several members of the Finance Advisory Committee now and then around town that are here tonight, and maybe they have a little presentation for Jim after the program is over. So hopefully those members will stay around and just be a part of that. Jim has been also a part of the Veterans Advisory Board, past officer of the Rotary Club, member of the VFW post in town, VFW post 913, and the Legion. As has been said, he was a 2018 Memorial Day Grand Marshal, and he's also honored last year as the Veteran of the Year. Jim has kept his scouting lessons of leadership and service as a guiding principle during his lifetime. As he was quoted in the October 17 edition of the Community Advocate, he said, "We all get called on to do something, and you step up and you say, 'Here I am.'" Jim, we are so proud to recognize you for your service for your country, for your business associates, community, by presenting you with this year's Westboro Good Scout Award. Thank you so much.
Let's make it official.
Here's the James J. Tepper, 2025 Westboro Good Scout.
A little oil on that would be good. Thank you, Jim.
That's what you'd call a terribly thorough introduction. I very much appreciate it. Representative Donahue and committee members, ladies and gentlemen, friends, family, thank you all for being here. This has always been a great evening, and I've always enjoyed coming, but sitting out there, so this is a little bit different. I want to express my appreciation for being selected as the Good Scout this year. It's a great honor. It's very humbling. Very pleased to have many of my family. Jim has already introduced them for you, so I will skip over that. But a very loving group of folks and some friends from the family as well here. It's humbling to think that the ordinary activities that Jim just mentioned would lead to such a distinctive selection. All of these things are just part of a great life that I've been very blessed with. And moreover, I've received more back from my involvement than I ever extended throughout these years. Always get back more than what you put in. When Ian first asked me to have coffee with him one morning in June, I thought that the chair of the selectmen was going to meet with me to inform me that I'd been expelled from town. That's always a possibility, I'm certain. Instead, he referenced Jim Dajan, he referenced Betsy Moquin, and the committee's message, and I was stunned, but very appreciative. I know that there are many others that have stood here receiving this distinction, and I applaud them, and I'm humbled to be part of it. Leaders, contributors, great inspirations to the community. There are others that are quiet leaders. Bob Brown got me onto the finance committee. Paul Horrigan pulled me into the to the Veterans Advisory Board. Peter Gardner got me into Rotary. Folks that work in the community quietly and have influence. They're the shakers. I know there are many others, but they aren't here this evening. I do see many in this audience that are part of that group. I've often been asked about my scouting beginnings. Given my age, which is a bit beyond prime, I think back to the 50s. Jim was referencing them. I think maybe he saw some of my notes because I'm going to comment on a couple of things that he mentioned. I grew up with less attractions for my time. Youth of today have many. There were things to interest me then, sports, church groups, and the Scouts. But we found ways to get them all in. Families were more able to participate and support our activities, and it carried over into our home life. As our boys were growing, we felt the challenge of selection increase, and I've seen that continue to grow as the years go by. It's difficult for parents today to pinpoint just which activity young folks should focus on. Scouting, and all it has to offer in the development of youth, should be at the top of that list. I was fortunate to have had a mother that encouraged us as kids to be involved with Scouting. Girl Scouts, Brownies, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Sea Scouts, exploring. She started me out in Cub Scouts as she directed all of us to get into one of these fields. She served as a den mother and then worked with the pack. Each of my siblings were intimately involved with one of the scouting fields, and we're all the better for it. I know that I'm addressing the choir here, As all of you are aware, the benefits and rewards of involvement with Scouting. Scouting provides the opportunity for youth to explore themselves and develop the traits and skills of leadership, teamwork, responsibility. Regardless of the future paths that our youth take, these attributes will enhance and benefit the lives and careers of our future leaders. I realized how much I was the benefactor of my Scouting years. It is the uninformed and those to be recruited yet that need to hear this message. I've mentioned to many over the years that the skills I learned and those that I developed in Scouting have served me very well. Whether at college, or during my Marine Corps officer training, or Marine Flight School, or in various military theaters, or during the following years throughout my personal and business career, the physical and life skills I learned during my Scouting years served me extremely well. I'm very appreciative of the encouragement my parents provided, as well as the tremendous opportunities and training the dedicated leaders of Scouting and the Hampshire Franklin Council provided. In my experience, I know that speakers are remembered not for what they say, but for the brevity of their remarks. So with that being said, I want to say another thank you to the council, to everyone gathered here for selecting me, to Jim Tashin for his extensive introduction, to Betsy for her support, interview on the TV, etc. And thank you to the council for arranging this great event, which highlights Scouting and raises much needed funds for them to carry out their work. Thank you.
So now we're almost closing out the evening, so now it's time for the benediction. I know one of the Teppers is doing, I know we kind of mixed that up. So you can both do it, you can flip a coin.
It's Chuck.
Come on, Chuck.
Thank you. Glasses on. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight to see my dad receive this award. I think this award means a lot to my dad. To be able to share it with you all means even more to him. He's received a lot of awards that you've heard, so I'm not going to go over all of them, but this one I think really hits home for him. Our communities, families, and lives are different because we have Scouts out there. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be generous to you, much like a good Scout would. Thank you for coming tonight. Have a safe day. Night.
Okay, it's time for Travis again. You've made almost as many trips up here as our honoree. So I invite you to retire the colors.
Please rise for the retrieval of the colors. Color guard attention. Color guard, please retrieve the colors. Please join me in the Scout Oath and Law. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty, to govern my country, to obey the Scout law, to help